This is Joe Pantozzi with my teammate, Chrissy Stevens, and we're going to spend a few minutes talking about wealth and wisdom and wealth. And I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is people don't often put these two elements together. They don't always go together. In fact, we've been probably talking about the fact for years and years and years that a lot of people come into an inheritance when they've never had the experience of managing money before that inheritance gets plopped into their lap, so to speak. And so how do we set up a situation where our kids are going to be better prepared to receive an inheritance, to receive a legacy, to receive some amount of money, an amount of wealth after a parent leaves and graduates, as I like to call it. So one of the things that I realized in my generation, there were a few things that we were not allowed to talk about around the kitchen table. We were not allowed to talk about religion. We were not allowed to talk about politics. We were not allowed to talk about money. I couldn't ask my father why he was voting for the party or the candidate he was voting for. He just told me, when you go into the voting booth, you look for a particular letter, and that's who you vote for. And I'm not going to tell you which letter it is because it doesn't make any difference, because probably both sides of the aisle do the same thing, right? But we weren't allowed to talk about politics. We weren't allowed to talk about religion. You go to church on Sunday. That's the rule. There's my teaching. You go to church. No matter what happens, you're going to church. Okay, that was it. That was our instruction. And as far as money was concerned, we got even less. So get a good job, apply for a credit card, establish credit as soon as you can, qualify for a car loan, and then start building up your credit so that you'll be able to buy a house with good credit later on down the road. That was our financial education. But what did our parents do? In my case, the case of the boomers and above us, the greatest generation, what did they talk about? Hardly anything. And so were there a lot of opportunities for us to inherit money from our parents? No, there weren't. So here I am as a financial planner, wanting to work with people and talk about wealth and wisdom. How do we tie these two things together? How do we prepare a child, for example, to inherit $500,000 or $1 million or some company that's worth a lot more than that, or some asset, some portfolio of real estate? How do we train them to be prepared to become, from one day being maybe in the middle of college, maybe not being through with high school, maybe being a new college graduate, being a fresh into life person, all of a sudden becoming the CEO of some company, whether small or big? Well, the thing that occurs to me is when you're sitting around the kitchen table, you want to start talking with your kids about your money. And you want to start talking with your kids about their money. Now, I've never been a proponent of allowances because I didn't really see a connection between earning the money and receiving the money. So an allowance was just something that the kids were entitled to. And so I don't believe in having a child entitled to something. I think they should be taught that there's some connection. So you're going to do certain tasks, certain chores, and then you'll earn certain money, or go get a newspaper route that we used to say, or do some babysitting, or mow some lawns, or do some odd jobs, learn some carpentry at a young age, whatever it is, and learn the value of work, learn the value of money. And as you get older, you're going to watch me running my business. You're going to find out where it is I actually go during the day. And when I put my suit on, or however I dress for work, you're going to find out where I'm going, what I do, how I make money, who I work for, what kind of work that is. And hopefully I'm going to teach you about it or help you get on track to some other path toward your career. In the meantime, you're going to learn about the process of money, about the management of money, conservation of money, preservation, growth of the money. And you're not going to have this money walk into your life like some alien. And so one of the examples that just hit me in the last few weeks is a prospective client. She's not a client right now, but she's a younger woman who unfortunately lost her mom last year. And she kind of had a suspicion that she was going to inherit something, but she didn't really know what that something would be. And as it turned out, the amount of money that she receives is, it turned out to be larger than all the money that she's earned in her lifetime up to now. And she's been working 40 years. And this amount of money was larger than all the money she's ever made. So what do you think her skill level is today to manage this money? Maybe to preserve it, maybe to have it last her entire life. But we're not even sure that she needs to have it last her entire life. She's married, her husband works, he has a retirement plan. There are other component pieces that come into it. But gee, I just got this money. Let's just say, for argument's sake, it's $1 million. I just got this $1 million fall into my lap. I don't know, Chrissy, when was the last time your inner circle of friends had $1 million fall into their hands?
0 times.
Right.
0.
It doesn't happen very often, right? I mean, same with me. And the truth is, after all these years of practice and client experiences, I'm seeing what's happened. People get a large sum of money, let's say it's 7 figures. They get a large sum of money, and the very first thing they think about is, what could I go out and buy that I've never been able to buy before because I never had that much money all at one place at one time?
Mm-hmm.
So the very first thing that people think about is, where can I send the money out? Right? Because God forbid I should keep it under my control and not spend it. Now, she wound up, this young woman wound up spending about 10% of her inheritance on a very nice, moderately high-end truck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that something that she should have done as the very first step? Well, I'm thinking maybe not. Maybe she should have sat down with her inner circle, with her closest friend, with her financial planner, with her spouse, and said, you know what, before I spend any money, maybe I should figure out, what is this money for? She has kids. Should there be some money allocated for future inheritance? I don't know if it should or not, but it's a discussion point.
Mm-hmm.
Should I be thinking about this money as a lifetime legacy for myself? Should I have it last until I'm 100? Should I have part of it last for me and then part of it go to the next generation like my mom did? Right. And what I'm saying is, maybe we should have these discussions before we start writing checks. And you probably know from reading, from hearing on radio, from different programs, different financial entertainers, that the vast majority of people who inherit money part with that money in 18 to 24 months. And I'm talking about they blow through inheritances in 18 to 24 months. That means there wasn't much thinking going on.
Right.
Right. So Nelson Nash, my fantastic mentor for 20 years, said, you have to rethink your thinking. And he repeated somebody else, and I forget who the original person who said this. He says, 80% of people don't think. 15% think they think. And 5% would rather die than think.
This is not where I thought you were going with it.
So maybe the first thing that we should do is think and think about all the things that might happen because this money came in. Maybe some bad things will happen, and I can attest that that's true. And I won't go into that. But you can imagine that there have been people on this planet who have come into millions of dollars, and that money or the presumptuous behavior that followed the receipt of the money
Mhm.
ruined their lives. Okay. So wealth and wisdom, the wisdom has to come first, and it should come way, way, way earlier than the wealth comes. Maybe the wealth comes when you're older, when you're 60 plus. The wisdom should start to be in what's the word? Implemented in the child's life from the time they can speak, right? The Bible says that wisdom is good with an inheritance. Wisdom is good with an inheritance. For by it, there is profit to them that see the sun. So for by it, wisdom, not by wealth. The profit comes from the wisdom. You can always get more money, but you could ruin your life very easily by having wealth come into your life without the wisdom being laid first as a foundation.